All right, everybody, Bob Chick along with David Bay and Peter McGuff. We're here at the Orlando Pro, here at the Europa Games. Just concluded prejudging women's fitness, women's physique, and of course the men's open. We'll get to that in just a minute. This place is rocking, David.
Yeah, the expo out here is crazy. You know, Ed and Betty Parizo do a fantastic job, and Scott Templeton of putting this whole thing together. Great crowd, ton of people here, a lot of excitement.
Yeah, it sure looks good. The crowd was definitely into it and on hand here today. Let's start things off. Peter, your favorite division, of course, the women's pro fitness. Short in number, only 10 of them, but the girl only doing the quarter turns this morning. We haven't seen the routines yet, but they all look like they came to play.
Yeah, and I think, Michelle Blank is probably the most experienced there, and she was the best as far as in that round, as far as I was concerned, in shape and leanness and everything, and the way she conducted herself. But some new faces there, and it'd be interesting to see the routines.
Yeah, lots of people making their pro debut here, especially at women's physique. Obviously, we only saw the first round quarter turns out of the fitness girls. What'd you see there, David?
I think from fitness, Michelle Blanks pretty much got it on lockdown in the physique round of fitness. But as we know, 2/3 of the scoring for fitness is done in the routine portion. That being said, routine is definitely a strong point of Michelle's. So barring some sort of slip or fall or major error on her end, I think she's a lock for first place. Somebody I really like this, Kelsey Gailey, shorter gal. She had real good shape. Sometimes in a lineup where there aren't height classes like we see at an amateur level, some of the shorter girls can get overlooked. But I really liked her look. I'm not so sure the whole Wonder Woman two-piece. I mean, it's from a fan standpoint or whatever, it does look cool. She's got the dark hair. But I think it was a little bit distracting with that suit she had on. It'll be interesting to see how she does at the night show. I really liked her look. But going back to our favorite, as we talked about in the preview video, I think Michelle Blank is definitely a front runner.
Well, she's definitely due. She's put her time in. She's probably the most experienced veteran of the crew, so we'll keep an eye on those routines for tomorrow. Let's get into women's physique, David. Now, this is the biggest lineup of the afternoon, 25 strong. I thought it was a damn good lineup. It actually looked like all 25 came to play, but the cream of the crop seems to rise right at the judges' table.
Yeah, it wasn't a lineup of faces that we've seen before. So, some guys on the forums had mentioned that Peter and I were disagreeing on a lot, and sometimes when you're looking at this, you like to go off a frame of reference, how they looked at other shows and stuff like that. But Heather Grace, the favorite. Definitely not as lean as we've seen her in the past. I don't know if that was something where the judges told her to come in leaner or softer, and she was just coming with a different look. She wasn't in that first call out. They brought out a group at the end, and she was in that call out. It looks like this Ayana Carroll, smaller gal, short, not as muscular as some of the other girls, but really good structure. They had her in the middle in the first call out and in the final call out as well. Again, a lot of new faces. This Michelle Horan. She looked really good to me, really good shape, nice quads. Could have been a little bit leaner, a little bit more separation in the legs, but I think
I like Michelle Horan. Now, she's a newcomer, but to me she stood out immediately. Peter, dark hair, beautiful proportions and shape. I don't really get caught up on the conditioning that much out of women's physique. I don't think that was the intention of it. I think it's that all-around, nice physique, good physique, got some muscle, but not overly muscular. Your thoughts, Peter?
Yeah, in the first call out and to the end of the contest, I picked Michelle Horan, because I thought she had a complete look about her. And you talk about condition, she was well conditioned, but not harsh or anything. So I think she had a really good look, and she was a lot bigger than Ayana. I mean, Ayana's got a lot of potential, very petite, but I would have still given it to Michelle in the end.
Yeah, Ayana's very good. Like I say, she's just a little mini-me, but she's very well put together. Any other names that stuck out to you there? Frances Mendez, another perennial. She was in the mix as well. And Rachel Baker, who's done very well traditionally, still came to, in her great condition here today. She was rewarded with a first call out, so potentially our top 5 right there.
Yeah, the other standout who won't place as well, or won't place well, is this Ariel, or not Oriel, I don't know how to pronounce her name, Oriela Gorozova, whatever.
Really a Grojajova.
A real tall girl, gold dream tan, and she's doing the same thing show after show with this gold dream tan. I don't know who's advising that, but she was probably the leanest person here today out of all the competitors, including men's bodybuilding. Really, really shredded, so she's a standout in that aspect. Too tall, slight on muscle, but from a conditioning standpoint, and again, that's not necessarily something they're looking for in the women's physique, but just as somebody sitting there, it's impressive when somebody shows up in that kind of shape. Again, not a front runner or a contender here, but impressive nevertheless.
7 feet tall doesn't help you out there, Peter, that's for sure. But, we've talked about this before. Very important that when it comes to color and presentation, it can make or break you. And we've seen it kind of go either way with that. But those gold finish style colors that we've seen, not to call out any companies in particular, I think is absolutely the worst. When those lights hit it, it's almost like a sheen, almost like a it's like a finish, but it doesn't really help. It's like a matte finish, which actually makes you look softer to me.
Yeah, I mean, she was shredded. I mean, maybe she was too shredded. I mean, that's the conundrum here for this division. But yeah, the tan just blitzed her away. It just ruined everything, really.
All right, well, let's get into the guys. We had 15 competitors in the men's open. This is the Orlando Pro. Now, 2 things up for grabs here. You've got an Olympia qualification, and you've also got the next year's Arnold qualification. It's an automatic invite, so lots on the line here in Orlando. Any surprise at that first call-out? I think pretty much who we guessed was going to be in it was in it.
The surprise at the whole show was the lack of conditioning from the guys across the board. No surprises as far as the names, again, but really it was, from a fan standpoint, from a media standpoint, it was disappointing. Fouad came out from the second he walked on stage, the second he walked off stage, front runner, hands down. I can't see it going any other way. Now, Alexander Fedorov, I think, had he shown up in really good shape, I think he could have pushed Fouad in that first spot, possibly won it. Fedorov is huge. He's wider than everybody else up there. He's shallow in the pecs. That's, kind of why he stepped away from it. He had some pec injuries, but everything else on Fedorov, his quad, especially his arms, his back shots, he's gigantic. So I think with better conditioning.
Let me get to Peter on that one. Peter, now, you saw Fedorov in person 8 years ago, the last time he stepped on stage. You saw him here today. Give me the comparison.
Well, the first thing that in the comparison would be he's thicker waisted, and he wasn't in contest condition. I mean, 2003 against Ronnie and Jay, he was shredded. Still had some way to go, but looked like a future Mr. Olympia. And I was sitting there thinking, it was a bit sad. Not his physique, because like David said, I mean, you just looked in awe at the width of the guy. The back double biceps is just ridiculous. But just what might have been for him, and here he is at 37, fighting for a top 3 place. He would have blitzed this lineup 10 years ago, Absolutely.
Well, Fedorov still looked good. I think it was a good comeback of sorts. We'll see kind of where he goes from here. Are those improvements that he can make, Peter? And obviously, as we know, most people don't get better with age. Just saying fine wine, we're talking about their physiques. Generally don't get better close to their 40s, but we've seen the Dexter Jacksons of the world that have certainly, turned that around. So is it something that we can see Fedorov improve throughout the year, or you just think it's a time thing?
Well, last November when he did the Russian Grand Prix, he wasn't as good as tonight. He looked smaller, and he wasn't in condition that time. He wasn't in contest condition. If he can get in contest condition and streamline that waist a bit, we might see something really spectacular. Something that could have won this show, but I'm not saying, he's going to take the Olympia crown or anything.
Absolutely. All right, David, let's get into that lineup. So we saw Fouad, we saw Fedorov, Michael Lockett, and Pablo, the other 2 guys that were in that initial call-out. Interesting. Michael Lockett in the best conditioning out of anybody in the lineup. He's put together a little funky, as we know, but he's very muscular.
Yeah, he's got really big arms and really big delts. He turns around. He's a little shallow in depth in his lat spread and his rear double bicep. His one quad is significantly bigger than the other. You see that on stage, but as soon as he turns for his side shots, his delts and his arms are just crazy. He's got really deep striations, good separation in those shots. So a really good pro debut for Michael. In a little bit deeper lineup, he might not have been pushed that far up as far as numbers go, but a good debut for him, fighting for a top 3 spot. I think he could very well be in second place. So Pablo downsized from Tampa last year. When he came out on stage at Tampa last year, it was almost, as Peter,
he was huge.
It was like a Rami moment, like holy cow. And he came out tonight, big guy, but definitely not the wow factor that he had. And his conditioning may have been a little bit better, but not good enough to make up for his loss of size.
Well, the other guy in there, Pablo was kept out there. So those 3 guys, Fouad, Alexander Fedorov, Michael Lockett, definitely looks like it's your top 3. Fouad probably with the early lead right now. Pablo, they left out there. He had to compete with the other guys they were bringing up. In that crew, Daniel Toth also. Not the best version I've seen of him at least, but he was kind of hanging in there. Anybody else stand out to you, Peter?
Overall, it was pretty disappointing from there on. Vitaly Fatiev, the Russian, he was much better at the Arnold. He would have been very competitive for second or third place here if he'd have looked like he did at the Arnold. He was softer, much softer.
And the midsection was out there pretty good. I mean, Fativ, I don't know what his prep is, but that's a guy that definitely, and there's a guy that with potential that honestly could have came in here, in my opinion, could have won the whole show. If he improved 5% from the Arnold, this guy's probably fighting Fuad for the lead, and maybe Fuad's fighting him for the lead. But, the midsection was out, and, and again, it's just like we were talking about yesterday. It's exactly what we were discussing. That's a midsection that, somebody's eating raviolis in the back or something like that. I don't know what these guys are covering up on, but that's the high stomach. I've eaten too much. It wasn't helping him. It was actually hurting him.
Yeah, I don't know if from what I understand, he doesn't speak very good English. I don't know if he had a translator yesterday. Lee Thompson made it very clear that this is what they were going after. And like you said, he was doing that exact thing in his transitions and some of his side shots. It wasn't like, oh, okay, he's not quite keeping it as tight as he should have. He was just letting it hang. And when you see him from the front, he's not this guy with this huge wide waist. So when he just lets it go like that, you're kind of just shaking your head. And
all hell was breaking loose, David, out there. And, listen, you may not speak much English, but the bottom line is all you can eat is the same in any language, Peter. It's all the same. Marius Done from South Africa, once again, guy with tremendous potential. We've seen him much better, though, Peter. He missed the mark here. But how many of these opportunities can you let go by?
I don't know. It's we keep saying these guys don't get conditions like they used to, and then we're told we're hankering to the past. But I mean, the Arnold was disappointing in depth, and today was disappointing, and why that happens, I don't know. I mean, on the bright side, the Canadian making his debut, Ian Valliard, there's a lot of potential there. He's got a great frame structure. He's got the muscle. It's just that nothing happens from here. He has to get that midsection developed and get something going. But he's a guy, 24 years of age, he could be really good in the future.
And he seemed to work his way up there a little bit towards the end. They seem to be kind of getting a little bit better, getting a little more confident. Some of these guys making their pro debut, so, I mean, obviously you can't be too hard on them. But overall, we'll see what happens tomorrow. Finals are coming right up here tomorrow. Same time, 2:30 start time for all the pros. We'll see the women's fitness routines and, of course, those finals, women's physique, and, of course, the men's physique. 3 Olympia qualifications up for grabs, and, of course, for the men's open, also an invitation to next year's Arnold. That's going to wrap things up here at the prejudging. For David and Peter, I'm Bob Chick. Keep checking back with us, folks. We'll have all the updates throughout the weekend here at the games at the Europa.